Free overnight RV parking. It's been a staple of the nomad life for years. But guess what? Those days are numbered. From Walmart lots to rest stops, the no overnight parking signs are popping up faster than spring dandelions. Why? That's what we're diving into today. We're uncovering the 10 hard-hitting reasons why your favorite free spots are disappearing. Buckle up, fellow road warriors. This isn't just about parking, it's about the changing face of RV life as we know it. RV life has exploded in popularity. More people than ever are hitting the road, seeking adventure and freedom. But this surge comes with a downside. Those once quiet parking lots at Walmart, Cracker Barrel, and highway rest stops, they're packed to the brim with RVs. This isn't just a slight uptick, we're talking about a massive influx of nomads on wheels. In 2020 alone, RV shipments increased by 6%. Despite the pandemic, and 2021 saw a whopping 39.5% increase. That's over 500,000 new RVs hitting the roads in a single year. Walmart lots that used to host a handful of RVs are now seeing dozens roll in each night. Rest stops designed for quick pit stops are turning into makeshift campgrounds. It's not uncommon to see 20 or 30 RVs crammed into a space meant for a fraction of that number. The problem? These spaces weren't built to handle this many overnight guests. They lack the facilities, the space, and frankly, the desire to become unofficial RV parks. Most parking lots don't have dump stations, fresh water hookups, or the electrical capacity to handle multiple RVs. This overcrowding is pushing businesses to rethink their once open policies. Take Walmart, for instance. Once an RVer's best friend, many stores are now hanging up no overnight parking signs. It's not that they don't like us anymore, it's simply a numbers game. When your parking lot starts looking like a pop-up RV rally every night, something's gotta give. Customers can't find parking, and the wear and tear on the lots is increasing exponentially. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the RV park: abusive privileges. Most RVers are respectful guests, but it only takes a few bad apples to spoil the bunch. Picture this: a family rolls into a Cracker Barrel lot, planning to grab dinner and spend the night. Sounds fine, right? But then out come the lawn chairs, the grill, maybe even an outdoor rug. Suddenly, that parking space looks more like a campsite at Yellowstone. This isn't a one-off scenario. It's happening more and more. Some folks are treating these free spots like their personal campgrounds. They're overstaying their welcome, sometimes for days on end. There have been reports of RVers staying in the same Walmart parking lot for weeks, essentially turning it into their personal driveway. They're leaving behind trash, dumping gray water in storm drains, and generally making a nuisance of themselves. One store manager in Florida reported finding piles of garbage, including dirty diapers and food waste left behind by overnight RV guests. In extreme cases, some RVers have even been caught emptying their black tanks in parking lots, a health hazard that no business wants to deal with. And it's not just the big chain stores dealing with this. Small businesses that once welcomed RVers are now thinking twice. When you open your doors to overnight guests, you don't expect them to set up shop in your lot. Some RVers have been seen doing oil changes, extensive repairs, and even holding impromptu parties in business parking lots. The result? Stricter policies, more no overnight parking signs, and a general reluctance to welcome RVers. It's a classic case of a few ruining it for the many. Businesses that once saw allowing overnight parking as a way to generate goodwill and potential customers are now seeing it as more trouble than it's worth. As if overzealous campers weren't enough, now we're up against the law itself. Towns and cities across the country are cracking down on overnight RV parking with new ordinances and zoning laws. These aren't just small-town rules. We're seeing major cities and popular tourist destinations leading the charge. Their argument? Overnight RV parking disrupts the community, hurts local businesses, and brings unwanted congestion to public spaces. In some places, it's as simple as a no overnight parking ordinance for all vehicles. Cities like Los Angeles and San Diego have implemented strict rules about where and when RVs can park, even during the day. In others, they're getting specific, targeting RVs and other oversized vehicles. Santa Barbara, California, for instance, has banned RVs from parking on city streets between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. Some towns are even going as far as banning RV parking on residential streets, even if it's your own property. Residents in places like Bend, Oregon, have found themselves unable to park their RVs in their own driveways due to new zoning laws. The reasoning varies. Some local governments argue it's about maintaining the character of their neighborhoods. They claim that RVs parked on streets or in driveways decrease property values and create an eyesore. Others claim it's about public safety or environmental concerns. In tourist-heavy areas, there's often a push to keep RVers in paid campgrounds to boost the local economy. These laws aren't just inconvenient, they're changing the landscape of RV travel. That spontaneous road trip where you could pull over and sleep almost anywhere, it's becoming a thing of the past. Now you need to plan ahead, research local laws, and often pay for a designated RV spot. For many RVers, especially those on a tight budget or those who value the freedom of boondocking, these new laws are a significant challenge. It's not just about finding a place to sleep anymore. It's about navigating a complex web of local regulations that can change from one town to the next. Speaking of campgrounds, let's talk about their role in this shift. It's no secret that many campground owners aren't fans of free overnight parking. From their perspective, why should RVers get to stay for free when they're offering paid services? This isn't just grumbling. Campground associations and individual owners are actively lobbying against free overnight parking. They're showing up at city council meetings, writing to lawmakers and pushing for stricter enforcement of existing rules. Their argument? Free parking spots create unfair competition. They point out that they pay their taxes, maintain facilities, and provide services, all things that come with a cost. When RVers opt for free parking instead, it cuts into their business. Some campground owners report seeing occupancy rates drop by as much as 30% in areas where free overnight parking is readily available. The National Association of RV Parks and Campgrounds, ARVC, has been particularly vocal on this issue. They've launched campaigns to educate local governments about the economic impact of RV tourism and the importance of directing that tourism to proper campgrounds. But it's not just about money. Campground owners also argue that they provide a safer, more regulated environment for RVers. They have rules about noise, waste disposal, and length of stay. Free parking spots, not so much. There's also the issue of amenities. Campgrounds offer hookups, dump stations, and other services that parking lots simply can't match. For RVers, this means fewer options for free overnight stays. It also means potentially higher costs, as more and more of our stops need to be at paid campgrounds. On the flip side, it could lead to improvements in campground quality and availability, as owners invest in their properties to attract more customers. Now, let's switch gears and talk about something that keeps business owners up at night. This is a big reason why many businesses, especially large chains, are backing away from allowing overnight RV parking. Think about it. When you park your RV in a store's lot overnight, you're essentially camping on their property. This isn't just theoretical. There have been cases where businesses were sued because of incidents involving overnight parkers. In one notable case, a Walmart in Texas faced a lawsuit after an RV was broken into while parked overnight in their lot. The RV owners argued that Walmart had a duty to provide security for overnight guests. The potential for a multi-million-dollar lawsuit far outweighs any goodwill or additional business that might come from allowing overnight parking. It's not just about accidents either. Some businesses worry about the liability of having people essentially living on their property, even if just for a night. What if someone gets sick? What if there's a fire? The potential scenarios are endless, and for many businesses, it's simply not worth the risk. This fear of lawsuits has led many chains to implement blanket no overnight parking policies. It's easier and safer from a legal standpoint to just say no to everyone rather than try to manage the risks of allowing it. Even businesses that were once RV-friendly are reconsidering their policies in light of those liability concerns. For RVers, this means we're losing more and more overnight options. It's not personal, it's just business. Companies are protecting themselves, and unfortunately, that means closing their doors or parking lots to us. Now, let's face it, RVing isn't always the most eco-friendly activity, and when it comes to free overnight parking, the environmental impact is becoming a major concern. The problem starts with waste. Not every RVer is equipped with a fully self-contained rig. This means some folks are dumping gray water in parking lots or, worse, illegally emptying their black tanks in storm drains. It's not just gross. It's a serious environmental hazard. In Moab, Utah, a popular destination for RVers, local authorities have had to deal with significant water pollution issues due to improper waste disposal from overnight campers. The problem got so bad that they had to implement strict new regulations on where RVs could park and stay overnight. Then there's trash. While most RVers follow the leave no trace principle, some don't. Business owners and local authorities are tired of cleaning up after careless overnight guests. It's not just an eyesore, it can attract pests and wildlife, creating even more problems in the future. In some areas, bears and other wildlife have become habituated to human food due to improper trash disposal by overnight campers. But it's not just about what people leave behind. The very presence of RVs can impact local ecosystems. Imagine a quiet rest stop that suddenly becomes a popular overnight spot. The increased traffic, noise, and human activity can disrupt local wildlife and vegetation. In some sensitive areas, the constant presence of RVs had led to soil compaction and damage to native plants. There's also the issue of air pollution. While modern RVs are more efficient than ever, a parking lot full of idling engines, running air conditioners or heaters can have a significant impact on local air quality. This is especially concerning in areas that already struggle with air pollution issues. For RVers, this means we need to be more mindful than ever of our environmental impact. It's not just about following the rules, it's about being good stewards of the places we visit. Using proper dump stations, disposing of trash correctly, and being aware of our impact on local ecosystems are all crucial if we want to preserve the option of free overnight parking where it still exists. Remember when Walmart was the go-to spot for overnight RV parking? Those days are fading fast. Walmart, along with other big chains, is changing its tune when it comes to RVers. It's not just a few stores here and there. We're seeing a seismic shift in corporate policies across the board. Walmart, once known for its RV-friendly stance in particular, has been quietly updating its policy. More and more stores are putting up no overnight parking signs, often at the behest of corporate headquarters. In 2010, about 78% of Walmart stores allowed overnight RV parking. By 2020, that number had dropped to around 58%, according to informal surveys by RVers. And the trend is continuing downward. Some Walmart locations that have been longtime favorites among RVers are suddenly changing their policies, catching many travelers off guard. And it's not just Walmart. Other chains that were once reliable spots for a free night stay are following suit. Cracker Barrel, long known as an RV-friendly establishment, has started to limit overnight parking at many locations. Bass Pro Shops, once a popular spot for RVers, has also been tightening its policies. Even some truck stops, traditionally a fallback option for many RVers, are implementing stricter rules about overnight stays. Why the change? It's a perfect storm of all the issues we've talked about. Overcrowding, liability concerns, local regulations, and pressure from competitors. For these big companies, the hassle and potential risks of allowing overnight parking are starting to outweigh the benefits. There's also the issue of customer perception. Some stores have found that their regular customers are put off by parking lots full of RVs. They worry about safety, available parking, and the overall appearance of the store. This shift is happening gradually, but its effects are being felt across the RV community. Places that were once sure bets for a free night stay are now off limits. It's forcing RVers to rethink their travel plans and budget for more paid camping. For many RVers, especially those who relied heavily on these free overnight options, this change is significant. It's not just about the cost, it's about the convenience and flexibility that these spots offered. A quick overnight at Walmart on a long drive could save hours of detours to find a campground. Now that option is becoming less and less available. Now, it might sound obvious, but here's something many RVers don't consider. Those parking lots and rest areas we've been using, they're private property, and the owners of that property are increasingly choosing to restrict access. It's easy to forget when you're pulling into a big empty parking lot that you're essentially asking to camp on someone else's land. Even public rest areas are maintained by someone, usually the state or local government. For businesses, allowing overnight parking comes with costs. There's increased wear and tear on the parking lot, high water usage in restrooms, and potential security concerns. A store manager in Colorado reported that after allowing overnight RV parking for years, they had to resurface their lot much sooner than expected due to the constant presence of heavy vehicles. Some are finding that the goodwill generated by allowing overnight stays doesn't outweigh these costs. While many RVers make a point to patronize businesses that allow overnight parking, it's not always enough to offset the expenses and potential risks. And it's not just about the money. Some property owners are concerned about the image it creates for their business. A parking lot full of RVs might not be the look they're going for, especially in more upscale areas. There have been cases where local residents have complained to businesses about the presence of overnight RVers, putting pressure on the owners to change their policies. This realization that we've been relying on the generosity of property owners is a wake-up call for many in the RV community. It's prompting discussions about the need for more designated, low-cost overnight parking options. Some RVers are taking matters into their own hands, reaching out to businesses directly to ask permission to park overnight. While this can sometimes work, it puts the onus on individual RVers to negotiate these stays, which can be time-consuming and unpredictable. There's also a growing movement to create more formal arrangements between RVers and property owners. Programs like Harvest Hosts and Boondockers Welcome connect RVers with private property owners willing to host overnight stays. While these often come with a membership fee, they provide a network of unique overnight options that go beyond traditional campgrounds or parking lots. Now, let's talk about something that's on every RVer's mind when they pull into a spot for the night: safety. It's one of the biggest reasons why free overnight parking is becoming a thing of the past. Those quiet, out-of-the-way spots that used to be perfect for a peaceful night's sleep, they're not always as safe as we'd like to think. Reports of vandalism, theft, and even violent crimes at popular overnight parking spots are on the rise. Take the case of a couple in their 60s who were assaulted in their RV while overnighting at a rest stop in New Mexico. Or the string of break-ins reported at a Walmart parking lot in Florida, where several RVs were targeted in a single night. These aren't isolated incidents. They're part of a growing trend that's making both RVers and property owners think twice about overnight stays. It's not just about crime, either. There are safety concerns related to the locations themselves. Many free parking areas just aren't designated for overnight stays. They lack proper lighting, security features, and emergency services nearby. In one tragic incident, an RVer suffered a heart attack while staying overnight in a store parking lot. The lack of clear addressing and unfamiliarity with the location delayed emergency responders. For businesses and local authorities, these safety issues are a major. They don't want to be responsible if anything goes wrong. And let's be honest, a parking lot full of expensive RVs can be a tempting target for criminals. Some businesses have reported increased security costs and issues with loitering and panhandling in areas where overnight parking for RVs is allowed. This concern for safety is leading many places to simply ban overnight parking altogether. It's easier to say no than to try to ensure the safety of overnight guests. Some towns have gone as far as to install barriers or change parking lot designs to physically prevent RVs from staying overnight. For RVers, this means we might need to be more vigilant about where we choose to stay. It's not just about finding a free spot anymore, it's about finding a safe one. Many RVers are investing in additional security measures for their rigs, from alarm systems to GPS trackers. Some are even forming informal networks to share information about safe and unsafe overnight spots. The landscape of free overnight parking is changing, but that doesn't mean the end of affordable travel. In fact, this shift is spurring innovation and new opportunities in the RV world. We're seeing a rise in apps and websites dedicated to finding safe, legal overnight parking spots. Platforms like Harvest Hosts and Boondockers Welcome are reimagining what overnight RV parking can look like. Instead of parking lots, these services connect RVers with wineries, farms, museums, and other unique locations for overnight stays. New business models are emerging as well. Some entrepreneurs are creating secure, low-cost overnight parking areas specifically for RVs. These RV safe havens, quote-unquote, offer basic amenities and peace of mind, bridging the gap between free parking and full-service campgrounds. There's also a push for more public-private partnerships. Some towns are working with local businesses to create designated overnight parking areas, recognizing the economic benefit of RV tourism. Technology is playing a big role in this transition. New apps are using AI and machine learning to predict where overnight parking is likely to be allowed, based on local laws and historical data. Some RVers are even experimenting with peer-to-peer parking arrangements, using apps to rent out their driveways or land to fellow travelers. We need to be more mindful about our planning, more respectful of the communities we visit, and more willing to pay for safe, legal parking when necessary. It's not the end of the road, but a new chapter in our adventures. We've got to be smarter, more prepared, and maybe even a little more willing to open our wallets. But the freedom of the open road, that's not going anywhere. In this video, we've highlighted several great options where you can still park for free, keeping your adventures affordable. So what's your game plan? How are you adapting? Let your fellow RVers know in the comments below. Until next time, happy travels, Road Warriors!